Decluttering Club. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see you. We are so happy to be with you here today. I am here with our decluttering coach, Selena Jones, and she's going to be talking to us today about the trauma link to clutter. All right, this is a very real thing, the trauma link to clutter. So if you have grief or trauma in your background, or if you've struggled with this in the past, and it has turned into and like manifested itself as clutter, today's video is for you. This is gonna be really important. Now, I just wanna make sure that we are good to go here. Yes, okay, I see people on. Fantastic. All right. And if you all can give me a thumbs up in the comments and let me know that you can hear us, that would be super helpful. I see Luann is here. Hey, Luann. Hey, Joan from Vancouver. Okay, so good to have you. And Selena, thank you so much for being here. This is we were just talking about this, right? This is this is tremendous. This problem is huge. And so I love that you are tackling this. And I think it's something that we really need to get into. So without further ado, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and just introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Selena, and I live just outside of Toronto, and I am a decluttering coach, and I'm also a grief and trauma therapist. So, meshing these two worlds together is really exciting for me. And I think a lot of people kind of go, oh my gosh, grief and trauma, like how can that get you excited? And I think it gets me excited because it doesn't have to be a dead end road. We don't have to be stuck in overwhelm, and we don't have to be stuck in trauma cycles that are showing up not just in our body and in our health, but also in our living space, and in our relationships. And, we can make tiny changes, and we can shift that energy, and we can make a difference, and we can stop the cycling. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk about it.
Oh, I love it. That's such good news, right? We don't have to be stuck. I love it. It's not a dead end. That's like, not everybody knows that, right? I think when you're in the midst of that, you don't see a way out.
No.
And it's horrendous. So, I love that this is your specialty. This is a beautiful thing. So thank you for being here. Before we get into it, so you have 5 points that you're going to share with us, but before we get into it, I want you all to make sure that you sign up. Selena has a link that you can click through on this video. I'm also going to drop into the comments, and it is going to give you a tip sheet on how to process big emotions while decluttering, right? If you've ever come across like that one thing, it hits you like a brick wall and you're like, whoa, and then you just dissolve into a puddle of tears and you're like, where did that come from? Or maybe you know where it came from. You're going to want this tip sheet because it's going to tell you how to handle that. So I'm going to drop that in the comments here before I forget. And
these are my best secrets. These are all the top tips. So you're going to want a copy for sure.
Perfect. Okay. Hang on. Let me just make sure this gets in there properly. Okay. There we go. Yeah, and that is over to sign up for Selena's email address. So you guys are going to want to grab that. Okay, so tell us how this works. Like, what is the link? How do we get into this?
Okay, so first I want to talk about, when I talk about our clutter, I'm going to refer to it as stuff. And the reason why I refer to it as stuff is I want to remove sort of that emotional attachment and that emotional expectation of the things that are hard for us to part with. Maybe it's not, if you truly want to keep something, you absolutely can keep it. You have choices. If you are keeping something out of expectation, or because you're so attached to the experience that it provided, or the relationship with the person that maybe it came from, or it has a tie to, but you don't actually love the object, we just sort of want to remove that deep attachment. We're just going to refer to it as stuff. And it's not meant to be disrespectful, but just so we can sort of take a step back, take a breath, and look at it just a little bit more clearly.
Okay, everybody say stuff in the comments. Stuff. Yes. I love it. Stuff.
Okay, so, you don't have to have a specific big thing that happened in your life to call it grief or to call it trauma. You don't need validation from anybody else about how you feel about your stuff. If it is hard for you, that is valid. Okay, you don't need anybody else's permission. You don't need, if your best friend or your sister says, oh my gosh, it's been 10 years, I don't even know why it's still a thing for you. Okay, that's just noise. We're going to let that go away, because however you feel about it is valid. And that's what we deal with. We deal with is the emotion that we're sitting with right now. So I think that's really, really important. Don't look for outside validation as to why it's hard.
Okay. We don't have to prove ourselves.
Right.
It's not like it's not a contest who's suffering more, or I shouldn't be suffering, or all of that.
Right. And your best friend or your mother or your brother is going to process differently than you, even if they had the exact same experience. Different person, different body, different brain. Right. So how you feel or don't feel about stuff, you just own that on your own. It has no attachment to anybody else around you. And I think sometimes when we have clutter, because when we have trauma and we have difficult things, makes it really difficult to think clearly. Our brain literally just gets flooded with all these hormones. And sometimes our internal chaos shows up externally. It shows up in our space. Our laundry doesn't get done. The paperwork piles up. It's hard to go through the mail. And when we look at it, sometimes we just say to ourselves, oh, you know what? I don't even care. Like maybe I have 7 boxes of stuff from my first marriage or from someone that passed, or I lost a spouse. I just don't care. I can sit there. I don't care. But when we tell ourselves we don't care and we still don't deal with it, that's just active avoidance. Right?
Okay.
Right? So we have to ask ourselves, why am I actively avoiding this? And it's usually one of two things. It's either anxiety or it's overwhelm. Both of those things we can deal with, right? So it becomes really important, not necessarily to figure out why we feel what we feel, but to give ourselves permission to feel it, to realize we don't have to do all the things in one big go. So let's say you have 7 boxes of stuff, and what is in those boxes feels difficult. It feels overwhelming. I always tell my clients, keep it small and keep it focused. Pick one box. Just pick one. Don't care about the other 6 right now. Take that box, take it to a different space, right? Maybe you just want to sit on your couch in the living room, sitting in a space that feels safe and good, and attempt to go through the box. And people sometimes say, okay, but oh my gosh, my palms are sweaty. I'm breathing fast. It makes me want to run. And then we say, okay, what do we do with all those big feelings? Well, we honor them, right? So you have a big feeling. You're not going to have that big feeling for the rest of your life. It's going to pass. So we can sit with it. Maybe we need to get up. We need to move our body, because when we sit with a big feeling and we allow it to sort of build and build and build and build, we become so overwhelmed that we're not thinking straight. So we get up and we just move our body like, okay, I know that it's there. I'm going to go take a breather. I'm going to go walk around my house. I'm going to go outside for a minute. It gives our brain something to do instead of our brain hyper-focusing on all that overwhelm and anxiety, because we immediately start telling ourselves, I can't do it. It's too hard. It'll never get done.
I'm going to die. Yeah.
Right. Yes, exactly. Like it becomes this, it feels like a life or death scenario.
100%. Like, and that's not even an exaggeration, right?
Right. No, it literally is. That's what your brain and your body are telling you. And so, we have to sort of give our brain a job that is a better job than feeding us these anxious thoughts.
I love that. Yes. That's so good. 100%. Yeah. So get your box, make it small.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else and sort through it and honor your feelings.
And
like don't avoid them, right? Like that's so important. Right? Because if we're just avoiding, then it never goes away.
Right.
And it will stick around forever, for decades. Like we're not just going to get over these things. These things don't just go away on their own. Right?
No, your emotions stick around until you handle them. And this is what I call my Pillsbury dough theory. Now, if you get a canister of Pillsbury dough and you handle it properly, when you get home from the grocery store, it goes in your fridge, right? And when it goes in your fridge, it stays in its canister. It's there for when you need it, and you can interact appropriately with it because you're handling it with care in the way that it needs to be handled. Okay, now, if you take that same Pillsbury canister and you decide you're not going to deal with it when you get home from the grocery store, and you put it on your kitchen counter, and days go by, and a week goes by, what happens inside that canister? It's growing and it's building.
Oh my gosh.
And then it explodes.
Oh, wow.
It
Okay.
literally explodes. And everything that is in that canister is on the ceiling and on the walls and on the floors. And you now have a much bigger job. And our emotions are the same way. When we process and deal with our emotions, they're there where they need to be. We can interact with them appropriately. But when we don't, when we push it aside and we shove it down and we decide we're not going to deal with it, eventually it's going to build and build and build and build until it becomes so overwhelming that we're not functioning well. And then it affects so many things. It affects our health. It affects our relationships. It affects our job, and it affects our home and the energy in our environment.
Oh my goodness. I love that analogy, right? You can just imagine all of the dough all over the kitchen, right? Like it started out in the can, and if you handle it, you can have biscuits and it's amazing and they taste great. And but if you don't, then now you got a great big mess.
And it gets messy and it gets complicated. And then you go, oh, I just, I don't want to deal with it. But you're kind of forced to, unless you want to have, Pillsbury dough bits all over the house, which nobody really wants to function in.
And then you've got the bugs and
like it just gets out of hand. Right. And that's our emotions are like the Pillsbury dough canister.
Okay. Yeah.
No, we need to honor them. We need to allow them to happen. There is no such thing as a bad emotion. Anger is not bad. Jealousy is not bad. What it does, it's how do we process it? What do we do with it when we have it? Right? That's the key. So you can have all of these emotions. Don't talk badly to yourself for having the emotions. Don't talk badly to yourself of how attached you feel to some of your stuff. It's okay because you have choices, but you have to like the reasons why you keep what you keep. Are you keeping it because your mother said that your great grandmother loved it and wanted to have it in the family forever?
Right.
But you're just kind of like, not really my thing. Right. If mom loves it that much, offer it to mom. Mom doesn't want it, then we can let it go. Like your reasons for keeping the things that you keep.
Like your reasons. Everyone say, like your reason. That's a good one. I love that. No such thing as a bad emotion. Isn't that crazy? No. Like we spend half our lives probably avoiding emotions. Nobody likes to feel jealous or guilty or sad.
And all it's telling us is something needs to change. When we get angry about something, it's because we don't like it. Like if we look into, I had a room that I was the queen of the stash and dash before I started my decluttering journey. And it's actually literally in the room that I am in now. And you could barely open up the door to start decluttering the room. I had to build a pathway. And what made me finally get into the grid of it was that when I couldn't open the door all the way, it made me angry. And I had to ask myself, why am I angry? I'm angry because I can't open the door all the way. Well, why can I not open the door all the way? Because I am the queen of the stash and dash. I put too much stuff in there. And so the only way through that, my anger is telling me this isn't serving me anymore. I want something different for that space. So I need to make a change.
So it's useful, actually. Like it's actually a useful emotion.
Yes, it's telling us something. It always has a message. What is not sitting right in our body? What is it that we want to change? How do we want to shift the energy in our house? Because when we declutter, we change the energy in our house. Things feel lighter. They feel more organized. When we have a lot of internal chaos that becomes external chaos, our brain is hardwired to constantly search our environment. And that goes back to like caveman days. It's looking for a saber-toothed tiger. Right now, there's no saber-toothed tiger, but it's constantly searching and searching and searching. And when you have a lot of clutter, it's very, very tiring on your brain. But as you work through it, and as you create things like white space and you create a home for things, your brain doesn't spin like this. It starts spinning like this. Right? And you're giving time and energy back to your body. You're helping your relationships. You're helping your health. There's so many benefits.
So good. So good. Okay. We got a lot of people talking here. This is fantastic. Brenda says, this is so good. Absolutely. Francis says, honor, acknowledge, recognize the emotion. I did that with the dress I eloped in. I felt grief for the young woman whose hopes and dreams were derailed, hugged the dress and told myself it was appropriate to feel grief, and it passed. Ooh.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
That is good. That is
Mhm.
good. Kay says, this is so enlightening for me. Thank you both. Okay, fantastic. All right, so now what? So we are honoring the emotions, we're
Yep.
noticing them, we are not avoiding.
Right. So, I mean, people say, what do we do with those big feelings? And we touched on that a little bit earlier, is we acknowledge that we have them. And how you acknowledge it is just dependent upon your personality. Some people just like to sort of sit with it. We love to sit with the happy emotions. We love to sit with joy, and we love to sit with relaxation and contentment. But when it's uncomfortable, that's when we want to run. We're like, no, I don't like this feeling. Right. But it's okay to sit with the feeling. Maybe you need to sort of write, maybe you need to take 5 minutes and write it out. This is what's coming up for me. Let yourself do stream of consciousness writing. Don't make it pretty. It's not for anybody else to read. Just start writing. When I do stream of consciousness journaling, I do it every morning. I've been doing it every morning for about close to 8 years now, because I like to clear what's going on in my head, so I'm not carrying that weight throughout the day. And when we're decluttering and it brings up big emotions, we need to find a way to get it out. So some people are writers. Do stream of consciousness, talk about how gross it feels, the memories that it brings up, whatever it is that you need to shed so that you don't carry it with you. That's part of the healing process. Other people like to burn some energy, right? Maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to put on some dance music, change the energy of the space. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom. Dance around, shake it off, whatever it is that you need to do, right?
Yeah.
But in the process, I want you to tell yourself positive things. Don't say that you're dumb. Don't say this is stupid. Don't say so-and-so would never have a problem with this. Or, my grandmother would laugh if she, laugh at me and call me names if she, saw the way that I was acting over this one photo, whatever it is, those kinds of messages, they don't serve us. And we have to remember that nobody ever talks to us as much as we talk to ourselves.
Yes, that's so true.
Right? So what messages are you allowing yourself to internalize? And what messages did you grow up with that you decided to carry through with you into adulthood that you really can let go of? Because so many times in my clients, both with my decluttering clients and my therapy clients, I see them living out the messages that other people attached to them when they were younger. You're always so messy. You're never organized. Why are you always so late? And if we hear this enough, we internalize it. And then unknowingly, we put a lot of energy into making that our own reality. What if we just said no?
Yeah. Yeah, like those, like you can't stop that when you're a kid. Right? There's no way for you to say, I don't want to hear you say this. Like that's not a thing for kids, but we don't have to keep replaying those messages when we're adults. But I think a lot of times we don't even realize that we're doing that. We just sort of think that's the way it is. Like I am messy, I am late, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Even in my own decluttering journey, I took on a lot of the messages that people attached to my mom when my mom's the queen of the stash and dash. Until I started doing your programs, no one had taught me a skill that there was actually a really easy skill set to working through our stuff. And I was like, wow, like it's almost like it needs to be taught like reading and writing. If you don't grow up with those kinds of messages, you don't grow up with that kind of content. It's not always easy just to figure out naturally, especially for those of us who are not naturally organized. Right? For some people, organization becomes really easily. A lot of my decluttering clients have ADD and ADHD. They have squirrel brain. It just ping pongs, and they jump around from thing to thing to thing in their house. So there are messages that we have grown up with that we still carry. And it is okay to let it go, to put it down, to walk away from it and create a new reality for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm in. I love it. It sounds good. Okay. Now what? That was number 3.
I think we're coming up on number 5. We sort of bounced around, but this one is a really, really big one for me. This is how I literally go through this, is how I live my own life. The value of the next right thing.
Okay.
So we've got this stuff. We are overwhelmed. We are trying to process the emotions. We're trying to honor what we're feeling. And then we kind of go, okay, it's still feeling overwhelming. So like now what? Because those kinds of feelings don't just go away like that. It's not like a light switch, right?
Mhm.
What I ask you to do is, what is the next right thing?
The next right thing.
The next right thing. So
everybody say next right thing.
right?
Yeah.
Because when we look at, let's say there's, a room that we want to take back, we want to make changes. We look at the whole entire room and we get overwhelmed and we get frustrated and we get angry and we shut down. And we like to shut the door, we walk away.
Mhm.
Now, we know from the Pillsbury dough analogy, that room, unfortunately, is not going to magically clean itself. It's not going to secretly let go of the things that no longer serve us.
Right.
So we have to face it.
Someday, someone's going to have to open the door.
Right.
Whether it's us or whether we're gone and it's somebody else, but it's going to have to happen.
So what is the next right thing? Maybe it's that you open the door and you go, I'm going to deal with the thing that's, maybe it's so full that you have to create a pathway. What is sitting right there as soon as you open up the door? The first thing that you touch, that's the next right thing. So what we're doing is we are taking away the all or nothing thinking, the part of us that goes, well, if I can't do it in an afternoon or I can't do it in a weekend, I just, I'm not going to bother getting started.
Why bother? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it's defeatist, and that doesn't serve us, because we know this, we can do hard things. We are more capable than we give ourselves credit for. So let's do the next right thing. So we start that and we've done that thing. And then maybe we look around the room, we're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever. There's so much stuff. No. Keep it small, keep it focused. What is the next right thing?
Now what? Okay, now the next thing and the next thing. Next right thing.
Because all those little bits add up. Like you have said to people over and over again, just do 10 minutes. Right? If you do 10 minutes, you do 10 minutes just once a day, that's over an hour of work by the end of the week. But maybe you didn't have it in you to do an hour all at the beginning, right? But you still got that work done because you did those 10 minutes, and maybe doing 10 minutes is the next right thing.
Oh, that's so good. I love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. And we're actually getting tons of comments. Marjorie says, I need this video forever. I love it. It's so good, right, Marjorie? It's so good. Judy says, I need the tip sheet. Judy, make sure you click through and get on Selena's email list, because she's got amazing things going on. If you guys have questions on this, go ahead and drop those into the comments and we'll try to address a couple of them. Because this, like I said, I think there's like a million people who need to hear this message, right? And I'm not even exaggerating, because just the way our world is today, it's just becoming more and more of a problem. So if this is you, you're in good company. Nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, overwhelm can feel paralyzing. Big emotions can feel scary to process, right? But it becomes the next right thing. And the next right thing can be applied to anything in your life, whether it's how to declutter the room that's bothering you, or, how to process the emotions. What's the next right thing right now? I like, to break it down to saying to people that they're a glorified houseplant. Are you fed? Are you watered? Did you get some sunshine? Right? When you get those three things, it's so much easier to process the emotions. And then it's so much easier to work on the clutter, because they're all connected. It's all interconnected.
Right. It's what we call basics, right? Yeah. Like literally, are you drinking your water? I know you were telling people to drink their water. And it seems like silly, but actually, it could actually make a difference. And maybe that's the next right thing.
Absolutely. Emotional work is thirsty work. It really is. It's thirsty work. So you want to keep yourself hydrated. You want to essentially prime your body to be ready for the things that you're trying to process. Because honoring your emotions is also about honoring your body, which is also connected to honoring your space. Because, when we deal with things like depression and anxiety and overwhelm, when we start working on the clutter in our space, we're shifting the energy. We are also shifting our mental health. They're connected. They're absolutely connected.
And you think, well, I don't have any energy to do that. But sometimes that is the only thing that you could do, right? Sometimes I think we were talking about this beforehand, right? Sometimes the emotional work is maybe too heavy. too hard, but maybe the next right thing in just like dealing with a piece of paper or, something, maybe that is doable.
Yeah, something tiny. And what is something that gives you essentially a gift to yourself? So let's say, if you just, for me, I love the end of the day because I like to go to bed with a book. So one of the things that is usually my next right thing is my bedside table clear? Because that has my book, it has my reading light, it's got my tissue box, it's got my mug of water, and it's got my reading light. So if I focus on that and I keep that clear, that's a gift to myself, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to relax. I want to be able to unwind. And so if other areas of my life feel chaotic, I can look at the bedside table and go, I took care of that. Like I did that thing. And that actually makes me feel better. And again, that ties into the energy of my space and the energy in my body.
So good. Yeah. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, then who will? Right. Like we have to. And sometimes we kind of have to fight for it because it doesn't come naturally. It's sometimes we don't even want to, which is kind of counterintuitive, but I think it's a really real thing with depression or, if you're in the middle of grief. It's
you're
actually
worth it. You are so worth it. And I want you to tell yourself that you are worth it. I mean, external validation is a great thing. I mean, we all need it from time to time, but you need to practice that act of self-love to say, you know what? No, I am worthy. I'm absolutely worthy.
So good. All right. I'm going to scroll through and see if we have some questions. Let's see. Daisy says, thanks so much. It helps me find the root of where all this started from. Yeah, this is you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, do you find that like traumatic events are like a catalyst for the clutter to begin to pile up, or is it more gradual? Like what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it depends, but I think it's definitely deeply rooted. If you have a very traumatic past with constantly moving, and as you know, if we move a lot, there's things that get lost. We can become very attached to our stuff and want to have it close by. And sometimes when we are so used to that sort of chaos and the clutter and all the stuff, I think people sometimes can get surprised that when they declutter, that actually makes them feel uncomfortable. Everybody assumes, oh, if you're going to declutter, you're going to feel great afterwards. And I've worked with people that say, oh my God, no, it kind of makes me panicky.
Yeah, right.
So then we need to make it a little bit smaller. Don't do everything in 3 hours. We have to allow ourselves time and grace to adjust to our space, to adjust to the changes. There's certain things I think that we become emotionally attached to in certain areas of our life. And then maybe that changes as we get older, but we feel guilt over letting go of those things that we're attached to for so long. And that's hard. Like, if there's people out there that are struggling with that kind of thing, I don't want you to beat yourself up. That's a process. And you don't have to do the whole process in one sitting. You don't have to do it in one day or 1 week.
We don't have to do it all at once.
No, imagine that, right?
We might need a minute, you think?
Yeah, it's okay. Because I think, some people, they're just like, I just want to get it all done. I just want to do it now. I just want to get it all done. But there was a process that led up to us accumulating all that stuff. And it's beneficial that as we work through letting go of it, that we let go of it in smaller chunks, because we want to change the habits that led up to the accumulation. Right. And if we it's almost like, some people have hired personal organizers to come in and deal with their stuff. These people don't know your history. I mean, personal organizers are fabulous, but if they don't know your history, and there's certain things that to some people would seem like a nothing object, to you, it means the world, and they check it, and then all of a sudden you've got this lovely looking living room, but you don't know how it got there. And none of your habits that accumulated all the stuff have changed. You're probably going to find yourself in a difficult position down the road. So allow yourself to have the time to process it in smaller bits.
And I imagine also like the less that you avoid the feelings, right? The more you're willing to process the feelings, the faster it's going to go.
Yeah, it does get easier. Right. It is like working a muscle that you haven't used in forever. Right? We have to practice it. And I like to tell my clients to make a list when they're feeling calm and good. what are the kinds of things that help relax you in a difficult moment? One of the best things to do is anything with repetitive movement. Okay. Because when our brain becomes overwhelmed and it becomes flooded with hormones, the way that our brain attaches to sort of doing a reset and relaxation actually goes back into utero. You know, when you literally are in your mom's belly, there's that sway, there's the heartbeat. And, you know, for babies that are born that have, you know, proper attachment, what do people do when they hold a baby? They bounce, they pat the back. So our brain associates that calming feeling with repetitive motion.
Oh, interesting.
So, you know, you can, even if it's just spinning in an office chair, that's why walking, swinging, knitting,
I was thinking, yeah,
all of those kinds of things are really great. It settles the brain down. It's so good for mental health. Right. So make a list of the things that calm you so that if you are in your decluttering journey and you are triggered, you don't have to think in the moment when you're not thinking clearly, what's my best option? Go to your list, choose something from your list, let yourself calm down. And then you're going to come back to it and you're going to see the situation with fresh eyes.
Okay, we have a couple of people saying, like, so when they go through and click on your link, does it download it right away or does it come via email? Like, what's the process?
It's going to, when they put in their name and email address, it will be emailed to them.
Okay, so check your email, everybody, check your spam folder just in case.
Yeah.
But that's where it should come. All right, we have a question. Where did it go? Thank you. Can I catch the rest of this later? Yes, Mary, this is recorded. Absolutely. Okay. From Joanne. Joanne says, please speak about my deceased son's things. I even have baby clothes and toys I thought he could use for his children, but he didn't have any. Okay.
Okay.
Loved ones, children.
First,
child.
Yeah, that's really, really hard. You know, when we grow up in life, we just figure that everyone's going to follow that natural progression, right? It's always the people that are older than us, they're going to pass first. So there's not a playbook on how to deal with grief when you are the parent that is losing a child. So first of all, my heart goes out to you. The other thing is that when we let go of something, it's really important to remember that it does not change the relationship to the person that has passed. It doesn't change the experiences that we have had with them. And it doesn't change their love for us or our love for them. So, you know, in those 3 points, there's a lot of permissions there that we can give ourselves, you know, and we can, it depends on their grief journey. What feel like if it comes to, let's say, these items that were his as a baby that you're hoping to hold on to, what feels best in your heart, in your body on how to let go of them? Would it be better to let go? Can you let it go anywhere? Can you let it go to a family in need? Can you donate it to some sort of society that works with, you know, people that are in similar situations? There's options.
In his honor, right?
Yeah. How do you want to honor that giving away process? But I think it is so important to always circle back that it does not change the love, it does not change the experience, and it does not change the relationship.
Right. Because I think that's what people feel that they're afraid of. Like, if I let go of his things, I'm not going to have him. That's all I have left.
Yes.
Right. Like that, those things, that's it. That's all I got. But you're saying that's not
no, the memories are still there. All the experiences that we have up until he passed are still there. They're still existing. They're still in your body. They're still in your heart. They're still, you know, in pictures, and little things in your environment will trigger that memory. Not just the things, because that's the other thing too. We're afraid to get rid of the stuff because the stuff brings up a memory. You have a wealth of memories. They're still going to show up for you.
Yeah. And I think also, like, we can't enjoy those memories sometimes if we're so busy, like, avoiding being sad. Right. Then you're missing out on actually, like, loving on your son. And you know, like, remembering the good things.
And what would he want for you? That's the other thing. If we flip that narrative, and, you know, if your son could write you a letter and say, you know, Mom, this is what, you know, is that letter going to say, I would really like you to never get rid of anything and, you know, stay in that locked box? No, when people love us, they want us to live a big, full, beautiful life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay that we do, even though they're not there to make new memories with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, so good. So good, right? Let's see. Elisa says, I thought I would feel guilt, but my brain loved it and wanted to do more. Earning space to make memories with crafts with emotional items that I'm keeping. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Brenda says, my brother passed away. I used to lock his stuff. Now I got rid of it and he's still in my heart. Oh, how beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. And Charm says, that's what our loved one would want for us. And, sometimes they leave us with a message that's like, don't ever get rid of this. Like you said it a little while ago, right? You want to talk a little bit about that? Like, what if mom said, I'm entrusting these things to you. This is super important. You gotta keep this forever. Like, what would you say to someone who's got the weight of that?
It becomes a boundary thing. If mom's still living, it's a boundary thing. Maybe we have to have a talk with mom, and we will, if this item speaks to us, then maybe that's something that we want to do. If not, we don't have to make promises. And if mom feels some kind of way about that, that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. It's hard when it's our parents, right? We're like, I don't want to disappoint my parents, or, I hate when my mom gives me the eye, and I know what she's thinking. And
right
now if mom has passed, bless her, but mom has no say in it anymore. Nothing awful is going to happen to you if you let go of that thing. If there is something that I look at my space as real estate in my home, what do I want to honor so that when it takes up real estate, I'm proud that it takes up real estate. If it speaks to me, then I'm happy to donate that real estate to that thing. If not, I am making room for other things that do speak to me, or maybe it's new experiences, or maybe it's different energy. So if mom has passed, mom now no longer has any say in the matter. And the decisions that we are making about our stuff, they are not life and death decisions. And that's what we have to remember, because in the moment, it feels like life and death. It just feels big and heavy and overwhelming, but it's not. It's stuff. We know that there's all these names on it. We know that it's, great grandma Edna's, China tea set shipped over from England, but it's stuff, right? And if it doesn't speak to us, it's okay to let go of it. And there is healing in the letting go.
Oh, that's so good. That is such good news. I think that's the perfect place to wrap up.
Yeah.
There's healing in the letting go, right? But again, we started out with saying you can't heal if you're not dealing and processing.
Exactly.
That's the necessary ingredient there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So make sure you all request the tip sheet, connect with Selena. She's amazing. You will love her, just like I do. Selena, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this. Any final parting words?
I think just show yourself some grace. Give yourself the permission to make the decisions. Don't look for outside validation. And if it's hard, that's okay. Because we can do hard things, and it's just next right thing. Next right thing.
Yep. So good. All right. So good. Thank you so much. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.